This is the front page of the American Weekly Mercury, dated Thursday, September 15th, 1720. For a colonial reader, this document functioned as a primary intelligence briefing on the state of the British Empire. The lead story sets the geopolitical stage. On June 11th, the king visited the House of Lords to formally close the parliamentary session, signaling the end of the legislative year. The dispatch begins with the passage of public bills. Among the domestic economic priorities is a new tax on luxury goods, specifically a duty on wrought plate. Parliament is also increasing oversight of massive imperial corporations. The text details a legislative mandate specifically targeting the officers of the South Sea Company. Trade policy follows a protectionist track. The laws reported here include an absolute prohibition on importing raw silk and mohair from Asia, a move to shield domestic textile production. A secondary trade embargo is also listed, which specifically bans the importation of timber from Germany. Beyond trade, the session addressed the management of the criminal population, introducing legislation designed to physically relocate offenders. This is detailed in an act for the more effectual transportation of felons. This legal mechanism allowed the state to exile convicts directly to the American colonies. Accompanying these domestic laws is military legislation aimed at securing maritime trade routes through the suppression of piracy. These varied laws show the British government attempting to route the management of global trade, corporate behavior, and criminal punishment through the coordinated legislative calendar in London. Turning to the second page, the document records the King's speech to both houses, delivered by the Lord Chancellor. The King offers a broad assessment of the continent, stating that the greatest part of Christendom is already freed from the calamities of war. He addresses the House of Commons regarding the domestic economy, specifically focusing on the management and discharge of national debts. The King emphasizes that these debts are being managed without laying any new burden upon my subjects. The address also notes the King's upcoming diplomatic travel as he prepares to visit his dominions in Germany. He states that the purpose of this travel is to settle the remaining troubles in the north. This address functions as a projection of imperial stability. By presenting a picture of settled debts and resolved conflicts, the Crown provides a narrative of security for colonial subjects, whose livelihoods depend on the political health of the metropole. The focus shifts to military logistics. A dispatch arrives from the Mediterranean, filed from on board the Barfleur in the Mole of Palermo, May 15, 1720. This dispatch provides a look at the reality of a militarized harbor during an era of shifting treaties. The report confirms the execution of a specific treaty, the Convention for the Evacuation of the Kingdom of Sardinia. This resulted in immediate movement on the ground, with both Imperial and Spanish armies officially decamping from their positions. Admiral Byng is seen managing a complex naval redeployment to accommodate the cessation of hostilities. He is separating his assets by task. Large men of war are being sent back to Britain, while smaller vessels are retained to facilitate the movement of troop convoys. This redeployment illustrates the logistical reality of the 1720s. As active combat ended, the continuous movement of naval assets remained the primary method of projecting state influence across the Mediterranean. The broadcast moves to the domestic maritime desk, beginning with a crisis report filed in Philadelphia. Captain Hust has arrived from Jamaica with a report on the loss of the sloop Philadelphia. The Colonial maritime network was dangerous and unpredictable. In a moment, a merchant vessel could be shattered against submerged rocks. The paper identifies the location of the wreck as Crooked Island, occurring back in early March. The casualty count is high. The report lists that the master, mate, and 12 men more were drowned. Only 5 crew members survived the initial wreck, managing to reach the shore of the island. They stayed alive by scavenging provisions that floated ashore from the debris of their ship. These survivors lived in isolation on a desolate rock for 5 months before they were finally rescued. This account highlights a difficult truth. While officials in London discussed trade tariffs, the actual movement of colonial goods relied on the labor and significant personal risk of sailors in the Atlantic. Focusing on the advertisement section, there is a sharp contrast in the layout. Alerts regarding human labor print directly alongside prices for sugar, rum, and molasses. One notice is a labor alert issued by Dr. William Locke. The alert comes from Anne Arundel County, Maryland. By placing the ad in a Philadelphia paper, Locke is attempting to track his laborers across colony lines. The notice describes 5 servant men who have fled their place of work together. The text provides their professional identities, noting these men were skilled in carpentry, coopering, and gardening. The ad offers a reward of 40 shillings with all reasonable charges for the return of each man. The advertisement asks any person who shall apprehend the said servants to take action, calling on the public to act as an informal police force. A single issue of the Mercury coordinates these disparate realities. It links the reader to European treaties, Caribbean maritime hazards, and the local enforcement of labor laws within their own community.
The Daily Dispatch, history in print. No modern gloss, no modern